Today, you'll learn about how to track and analyze social media metrics, how to use tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Insights, and other analytics platform. And also, this workshop will teach you how to interpret data and refine strategies and how to measure success, right? I think that's something that's overlooked by a lot of people. It's very important to understand your analytics data so that you can measure success, your conversion rate, your return on investment. So if you're an entrepreneur or small business owner who is looking to spend money on advertising on social media platforms, it's important to understand and how to track your conversion. So today is, we're excited to have a special guest here. Today we'll introduce CC in a bit here. We'll move on to the next slide. And this cohort is sponsored by Elevate Hennepin. It's to support entrepreneurs and small businesses in Hennepin County. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We do have the links to Elevate Hennepin Tech Essential program on the presentations too, so you can access the presentation and access those links as well. And thank you to our partners, Chinese Chamber of Commerce, Asian American Business Resiliency Network, Digital Synergy, Asian Media Access, and Cardinal and Company. That's part of CC's company. We did not add that to the slide here, but thank you, CC. And myself, will be one of the presenters today. I am the founder CEO of Digital Synergy, Executive Director of AABRN. And just a little bit of housekeeping here. Again, our cohort here, if this is your first time, we do have a incentive. If you attend 6 out of 8 classes, you'll get to apply for a application grant, which is good to cover 75% of the technology costs that you buy or spend. And the maximum amount you can cover is $1,500. So if you have any question on that, feel free to reach out to us as well. We can do a 5-minute break halfway in between, like at 7 o'clock if you guys need a break. And if you have any questions, feel free to type into the chat. We have Jane, one of our moderator, and myself will monitor that and also answer any question as we go. With that being said, I'll leave this to Cece to introduce herself and take over.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be back. If you've been to any of the other webinars I've done, thank you for returning. My name is Cece, and today I'm going to be talking to you about analytics and metrics and reporting. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So I am the president of Cardinal and Company, which is a consultancy that works with a wide variety of businesses, nonprofits, arts organizations, government entities, pretty much runs the gamut on all things marketing and communications. I'm also the senior strategist at an agency called Incivia, working exclusively with SaaS companies and other organizations in the tech space. I've been doing marketing, been in the field for about 20 years, and that length of time is actually a good thing in this case because I happened to be in the right place at the right time as social media was becoming available, being invented. So I've had the luxury of using all of these tools since the beginning, and even using some tools that no longer exist. So everything that we're going to talk about today in the webinar is current information, but also through the lens of how to run campaigns and from experience working in different industries with different paths to conversion, different target audiences. What we're going to talk about today is sort of, by nature, it has to be a little bit general, right? Because there is no one size fits all solution for any sort of social media strategy. So I'll try to give a number of different examples, a number of different use cases. And of course, if you have a specific question about your business or your industry, please feel free to put it in the chat. All right, let's get moving. I like to start with this concept here, especially with tracking conversions, tracking journeys, tracking user behavior. Social media is just one part of our communications ecosystem. And all of the other channels that we're using to communicate, some of which you may see here on this slide, most of them are going to give you analytics also. And the analytics from those channels also dovetail in to that overarching communication strategy and tracking that journey that somebody takes from first becoming aware of you all the way through to maybe making a purchase or signing up for event tickets, whatever your end conversion is. So it's important to remember that. I have all these arrows going into your website because really all of these different channels should be linking directly to your website so that people can find additional information and actually take that conversion action. And that's where Google Analytics comes in, which we're going to talk about later on in this session. And we're going to do a live demonstration of how GA4 works, some key metrics in that platform as well. Let's talk a little bit about the customer journey. This is also a foundational concept that's important to remember and sort of illustrates the last slide that was up on the screen. People are going to interact with your brand on multiple channels before they go ahead and convert. So these social media metrics that we're going to talk about specifically today are just stops along that journey. And gathering those additional metrics are also very important, right? Website visits, website users, if you're sending out emails, what's your open rate? What's your click rate for various segments, for various types of communications, right? And how does that all create that journey that ends in that final conversion? So keep that in mind as we're talking about social media today. We can't put social media in its own bubble, right? It doesn't exist only by itself. Social media strategy is best when it reinforces and reiterates the messaging that you have happening and going out from your other communications channels. The first thing we want to talk about when really not just social media, but just in general is what is your North Star metric? What is your business, your organization's North Star metric? If you're not familiar with what a North Star metric is, in general terms, it's a very specific metric. So metric meaning number that sort of encapsulates the value action for your customers. And a North Star metric can be very different depending on what your business is and what your conversion action is. So let me give you a few examples of North Star metrics. So once you determine what your North Star metric is, everything that you do communications and marketing wise is really going to be to optimize to that North Star metric along that journey. So here's some samples. A North Star metric can be a call booked. So if you offer a service, if you are in sales, and you know that once you can get someone on a call, they're very likely to convert into a deal or a contract, right? So calls booked may be your North Star metric. If you run a news or blog website, total engaged time on the site or on particular articles, that may be your North Star metric. You want to have that total amount of engaged time on a particular article be above 2 minutes or whatever you decide that metric to be. Certainly, product purchases or event registrations can also be a North Star metric. Active users of a website can also be a North Star metric. So it really depends on what your business is and what industry is, but it's important to identify what this metric is so that then you can back out of that and optimize all of your communications, especially your digital communications that you can track along the journey to optimize them to this particular metric. And that will enable you to gauge efficacy of your campaigns. All right, let's talk a little bit about tracking, right? Because we can't gather data, we can't review data until we have the data, right? So we've got to make sure that we're tracking things appropriately. And here's where we'll get in a little bit more to social media specifically, but of course, as we talked about, tracking these analytics and these metrics are global concepts as well. So again, you've got Google Analytics is going to be sort of at the center of your analytics ecosystem. All of your social media tracking and metrics are going to end up there. That's the goal, right? You want to have one source of truth, but then your other digital channels are going to go there as well. So if you're doing Google Ads, so PPC, if you're doing email, I have website here as sort of a general that could be related to SEO or just general website traffic, whether it's organic or paid, right? That's all going into your Google Analytics. Because I know that the group here on the webinar is diverse. So if you do not have Google Analytics installed on your website, or if you're not sure if it's installed, contact whoever helps you out with your website, your web person, your IT person, whoever that is, to make sure that it's on there, make sure that it's up to date. We'll talk a little bit in a minute about Google Analytics 4 or GA4. And also to make sure that you have access to your account, because that's going to be key in tracking any sort of metrics. So there's going to be two tracking tactics that I want to talk about that are specifically related to social media, although they can be implemented and used in other channels as well. The first one is super, super useful. It's using custom URLs to track engagement, but also tracking all of that traffic in through your Google Analytics account. So you may be familiar with Bitly. I have Bitly here. There's other link shorteners, but Bitly tends to be the most popular. So I have it here. So Bitly will allow you to track clicks, however many people click that shortened URL. And that's a good sort of surface high level way of gauging engagement on any sort of URL. The other option is the Google URL Builder, which I'll get into in just a minute, that'll integrate seamlessly into your Google Analytics account. Now, why are we talking about custom URLs when we're talking about social media? If you think about when you're making a post on social media, you're most likely going to put a link to something so that somebody can take an action, right? Is that link to just your website to find out more information? Is it to book a call with you? Is it to register for an event? Is it to sign up to volunteer for something? Whatever it might be, odds are you're putting a URL in that post. Having a tracking mechanism on that URL is going to help you immensely be able to identify that journey and also see what is the most effective, which social media posts are the most effective to get the result that you're looking for. The next type of tracking for social media is going to be conversion tracking, right? And this is a little bit more involved to put in place. And we'll go through some steps a little bit later in the webinar. But conversion tracking is actually going to be a way that you can tell Google Analytics or Facebook or Instagram, when somebody takes this specific action, we're going to identify it as a conversion. And the reason why this helps is because your social media platforms, if you tell it that you want to optimize your paid account or your paid campaign to optimize for conversions, Facebook, let's say, is going to use its algorithm to make all of your ads a lot more effective specifically to that conversion. So you won't be wasting money or wasting impressions or wasting clicks on things that aren't going to convert. One of the things that you need for conversion tracking is you're going to need each social media platform's pixel, their tracking pixel. And Facebook and Instagram, now they call it the meta pixel now. That's the nomenclature. LinkedIn has its own tracking pixel if you're doing LinkedIn advertising. Making sure that those are installed on your website as well. Super important to be able to have that tracking in place so that you can gather useful and meaningful metrics on your campaigns. All right, so I promised we'd go a little bit more into the Google URL Builder. This is one of my favorite tools that few people know about because it's a little bit hidden, right? To get to it, the URL for it is not particularly pretty. So it's best if you just Google URL Builder, and it'll be the first thing that comes up at the top. This is a little free tool that enables you to create a custom URL that's going to be tracked right all the way through to your Google Analytics. So when you're making that next Facebook post or that next LinkedIn post that says, read more on my blog, or sign up for a time, to chat with me on my website, and you put that URL, I invite you to use a tool like this URL builder to be able to track that very clearly. And you can see it's very easy. You put in the URL where you want people to go. You identify the source, the medium. So you can say here the campaign source might be Facebook. The medium might be an organic post, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's going to spit out a custom URL for you. And then you can just copy and paste and put that in your LinkedIn post, let's say. When we go through in the live demo of GA4, we'll be able to see how that comes in to your account on the other end and how you can track the steps leading up to it. But super, super useful tool. If you're not already looking at it in another tab on your computer right now, I definitely recommend checking it out. This tool can also be used in emails. It can also be used to create custom URLs in your online advertising. Let's say you're doing banner ads. Let's say you're doing a link trade with other people in your industry or industry service organizations. Very, very useful for anything that you'd like to track. I also talked about tracking pixels. So I have examples here on where to find them. So I have LinkedIn on the left, Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram on the right. Both of these require that you have an ads account to run advertising. That's where you can get to these pixels. So on the left, if you're in your LinkedIn, they call it the campaign manager. You'll be able to see along the left-hand side. They call it the insight tag is what they call it. So if you've got that, you can just go ahead and look that up. And it'll give you instructions. Both of these will give instructions on how to install it on your website. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, feel free to just send the code to whoever you have on your team who might help you with your website so they can install it. On the right-hand side is Meta, and you're going to find that in the events manager, and that's where you're going to find that tracking pixel in there, and it'll guide you to set it up. If you are running any sort of paid advertising on either of these platforms, really on any platform that has a tracking pixel available, please use it. Please make sure that you've got it on your website. Even if you're not using it specifically to track conversions, it's still important to gather that data. One of the reasons why is because you can use that data and those metrics to create custom audiences and lookalike audiences. Now, one caveat here. LinkedIn just, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, it's been within the past few days, they announced that they are discontinuing lookalike audiences. So you're not, if you are a LinkedIn, if you're big on paid LinkedIn and you've used lookalike audiences in the past, they are discontinuing that. But Meta will still let you do, so Facebook and Instagram still have lookalike audiences available. And custom audiences are still available to you as well. When you have those tracking pixels installed, it will gather all that data on people who are engaging with your content and allow you to target them, making your campaigns even more effective because you've now got a smaller, more intelligent data set there to show your content. So again, even if you're not running paid right at the moment, I'd still recommend putting those tracking pixels on your site. Google Ads also has one. Some advertising platforms, if you've ever used Paved or any of those, they also have tracking pixels. Make sure to use them. Okay, let's talk a little bit about vocabulary. When you're looking at your metrics, your dashboards, no matter what platform it is, maybe you do look at your Google Analytics or you're looking at your Facebook Insights and you're seeing all this different terminology. What does this terminology mean? Now, there's a lot of different metrics that are available to us, which is a great thing. And we'll go through some more of the scope of them when we do the live demo in the second part of the webinar. But to get us started, we're going to talk about the three sort of most common metrics to look at. And keeping in mind that, especially for social media, you want to optimize your campaigns for engagement, not impressions, right? It's great. You could have millions of people seeing your posts and seeing your content, but if they're not engaging in it, it doesn't necessarily matter, right? Similar to an email list. You could have 50,000 people on your email list, but if your open rate is only about, 10%, then it doesn't really matter that you've got 50,000 because most of those people are not opening your emails. Similar. So let's talk a little bit about impressions, reach, and engagement, right? These are sort of the three big ones that we hear about and talk about a lot. So impressions and reach, we'll do impressions first. Impressions and reach are a little bit, they're important to know and important to track, but we want to optimize to engagement metrics. So impressions are going to be how many times a piece of your content appears to a user. So this could be a paid Facebook post, how many times it appears to a particular user in their feed. It could be a Google display ad, how many times that display ad appears on any given website, etc. Impressions are not actions, right? It's just about how many times that ad is shown. Now, it can be important to look at, right? Because it can give you a little bit of a guide as to the size of the audience that is seeing the ad, and is your targeting, working the way you want. So it is an important piece of that puzzle. But again, we want to look at engagement. So the next metric that we hear about a lot is reach. So reach is, and this is more specific and more useful than impressions. So reach is going to be the number of people who see the content. And this can be helpful because it can tell you the size of an audience. You could get a sense of awareness by the number of reach. But again, looking at reach, you always want to balance that with how many of those people are actually engaging with your content. Now, this is what we want to optimize for. So on most social media platforms, engagement is a like, a click, a comment, or a share, right? Also things like, DMs, or if you've got lead gen forms, if you're using those on LinkedIn, those kinds of things as well are absolutely engagement, right? And high value engagement. If somebody is filling out your leads form on LinkedIn, that's very high value, right? If somebody is sending you a direct message after seeing something, making that one-to-one communication, definitely high value. In general, likes, clicks, comments, shares. So anytime you are posting on social media, it's important to remember to craft your content to be something that is relevant and engaging to your particular target audiences so that they will feel compelled to take action and to engage with it. Now, quick note about a trend that has been happening in social media really for the past sort of few years here is people are not necessarily liking or commenting as much as they used to. We know that when we like a post on Facebook, let's say, it's going to put that in our feeds, right? It's going to tell the people who we're Facebook friends with, oh, Cece liked this particular post. And sometimes people don't want others to see the things that they're liking or only want them to see certain things that they like. So likes are becoming a little bit more of a vanity metric, right? They're not as reliable as they used to be. Something like a click can still be very reliable, right? If someone clicks on your custom URL in your post to find out more, absolutely that can be very reliable engagement. Also a share, no matter, what somebody is sharing with. Comments also, although we are still seeing that trend where people are less likely to comment on something for the same reason. It's going to share that comment with everyone who is connected with you on social media. So keep that in mind when you're trying to optimize for likes. I would say perhaps optimize for clicks or DMs or lead form fills or whatever that might be. All right, let's look at some examples of how to sort of foster that engagement. So I have some examples from big brands here, but these are all tactics that everyone can use. So the one on the left from Starbucks is a very common tactic, right? They're asking people to comment using predictive text on their phone. This is an Instagram post. So they're assuming people are on their phone, which would be the right assumption for Instagram. Very few people are going to be using Instagram on a desktop, right? So on your phone, what does your sentence, when you use predictive text, what does it fill in for the last word? So it's kind of fun. And you can see they have over 5,000 comments, right? Those are people sharing with Starbucks, what their predictive text said. And it's important to note, they don't even have, this isn't a contest. They're not giving away anything for it. This is just latching on to people who, want to have fun, right? This is a sort of fun and whimsical way to get engagement. The other way, this is another Instagram example from Rothy's. They're a shoe brand. I'm sure some folks on here have been targeted by their social media ads. They're quite adept and prolific at social media ads right now. But they use this hashtag Rothy's in the wild. And they have created their brand where people can identify clearly when somebody is wearing a pair of Rothy's and they want to be featured. So they're using user-generated content here from people who are using that hashtag. So that's a great way to foster that engagement. So you'll notice that they're just using this one hashtag, right? They're not putting, 10 other hashtags in their posts. They're just using this one. So it's very directed to tell people where to go and what's going to happen if they use that hashtag. Here's two other ones that are sort of a little bit old school, but it's always a good reminder. So I'm going to start actually with the one on the right. Don't forget to tag people, places, things, businesses. That makes sense in your posts on social media. This is a great way for others to see your social media posts and to get engagement. So the one on the right, I have to, full disclosure, I created this post, but you'll see that Google and Inc. magazine are tagged, right? The article that is mentioned in the post is from Inc. magazine. So working in a way to sort of logically and natively tag Google and Inc. are ways to get that content into other feeds, right? Which is going to foster engagement and clicks on the links to the article, on those hashtags. Always make sure to tag whenever you can. This post on the left is from Click Placement, which is a dear friend of mine, Todd Nevins. He is the Google Ads genius, and he owns Click Placement. It's a consultancy for Google ad campaigns. And you can see he is just providing links on where to follow him. Sure, he's got a, click here for an audit, which is great. But then also there's a number of other links so that people viewing this can choose where they want to engage with him in addition to LinkedIn. So this is a LinkedIn post, but there are other options where he can expand that reach by people going to other communications channels and also engage with his content. All right, let's talk a little bit about conversions here. So how do we identify the journey? How do we look at metrics and start piecing together those steps and milestones along the journey to our North Star metric conversion, or to an end result conversion, like a purchase, or whatever it might be for you? So I've got some examples here where these are active campaigns. These two are LinkedIn. Knowing that we've got entrepreneurs, business owners here, I feel like LinkedIn is sort of a forgotten channel, and so that's why I picked LinkedIn, although the nomenclature is very similar among all of the channels. There are some differences, but it's still very similar here. So let's go through this dashboard here, these two dashboards, and talk a little bit about what these metrics mean, talk a little bit more about vocabulary and what you want to look at first when you're determining the efficacy of the campaign. So let's look at the top one here. So here you can see a number of targeting groups, targeting cohorts here in LinkedIn. You can see that it's going to tell us the impressions, which we talked about, right? How many times each these ads appeared in feeds for these three targeting groups. We can see here how many clicks each one had, the average click-through rate, and then they're going to give us some engagement metrics, reactions, comments, shares, follows, total actions, etc. Let's take a look at the first three here. Now, the first cohort is building and construction industry decision makers. The impressions are relatively low compared to the others, right? In terms of just looking at the number. The clicks, it is substantially less also than the others, but the click-through rate is higher than the others. And this is a good lesson in knowing how to read the data, because it's not necessarily just about volume. It's quality over quantity here. If you follow any sort of thought leaders in the space, right, they talk a lot about it doesn't matter how many people engage or how many people see your ad. It matters the ratio, the percentage of people, how many people actually click through from that ad. So even though this building and construction decision makers has less volume, that click-through rate is higher. So we can make a reasonable assumption that the content of those particular ads, those particular posts, matches up really well with the targeting, and that content is relevant and compelling to that group. So we can say, well, that's working really well, so let's make more content of that type for this particular group, or let's add a layer to that journey for this group, this cohort, to move them sort of down the funnel, right? This is very top of funnel. If you're familiar with these jargony phrases, this campaign is very top of funnel, but definitely using these metrics, especially for that first one, we could introduce a step that's a little bit more approaching mid funnel, right? To get a higher level of engagement. If we look at the bottom screenshot here, this is just a little chunk of some of the actual ads or promoted posts. So you're able to see these ad campaigns and see the metrics within grouped accordingly, right? So grouped by targeting and then also by individual ads. And so you can see here, so this is from the building and construction decision makers. You can see that these two ones that are in this screenshot, you can see exactly how many clicks and exactly the click-through rate. So they're about even for both of those content. So we can look at that content and say, these things are resonating really well with that particular group. And we can create a journey based off of that targeting group. All right, now let's look at how this dovetails in to Google Analytics. And I have a few screenshots here just for an overview, and then in a little bit, we'll actually go into a live environment in Google Analytics. But so you've got those folks for this example that you're targeting sort of top of funnel on LinkedIn, that building and construction decision makers targeting cohort. You are wanting, with that particular content, you are wanting people to click your custom URL that's in that post, click over to find more information on your website. And that's where the handoff occurs over to your Google Analytics. Right now, it's Google Analytics 4. If you have not done the migration to GA4, or if you've not logged into your GA account in quite some time, you may want to do that. There's a guided process over to GA4. GA4 is still Google Analytics, but it's their new product. And it's quite different in a lot of ways than Universal Analytics, which is the old version, which you may be used to if you've looked at it before. It's got pretty much the same stuff, organized in a little bit of a different way. So when that handoff occurs from LinkedIn over to your Google Analytics, then you can track what actions people are taking on the website. So this is a last 28 days sort of report for, this is actually a nonprofit organization. We can see here, if you look on the bottom left and the top right, we can see very clearly, and this is just sort of the top level dashboard, we can see very clearly which channels traffic is coming from. And I chose this particular organization as an example because they are really great at social media. they're running some social media campaigns right now, and they're putting a lot of time and intention into their social media presence. So we can see that growth. Also, they happen to be a performing arts nonprofit, and they're kind of in the middle of their season. So they're running a lot of different content, putting a lot of content out. So you can see that organic social is their top traffic source. And this is how you can bring that through to your GA. Now, here is one level more of specificity. So not only can we see that traffic is coming in from social media, but we can also see the exact platforms. They're very big on Facebook. They put a lot of their time and energy on Facebook. They know that their target audience are Facebook power users. So that's where they put their time and attention. And we can see here that it's working really well. We can see that Facebook has the highest amount of users, highest amount of sessions. So a session on a website is the total time and total grouping of activities that somebody takes when they're on a website. What's interesting with this one too, and we'll go through some of this nomenclature in a little bit, but the little m.facebook.com, that means mobile. The vast majority of social media users are using it on mobile devices. And we can actually see the difference there between mobile Facebook traffic and then also regular Facebook traffic. So we can get these different levels of specificity, which will also help you understand that journey and what people are doing when they make it over to your website. Now, when we go through a little bit of a deeper dive in GA later, we'll show how to view which pages people are viewing when they come in from social media. We'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into the types of actions they're taking in GA4. These are called events. So, and how to set up conversion actions and things like that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about tools and resources for bringing all of this together, making all of these things work, and viewing the metrics in a useful way. Link tracking, we've already talked about the URL builder. We've already talked about Bitly. If you use a platform like Buffer or Hootsuite or any of those, they do have their own link tracking and link shortening capabilities, which you certainly could use as well if you are wanting to maintain that particular ecosystem. Now, once we have all of these metrics, how do we view them? You might be saying, well, I am active on 3 different social media platforms, or I'm active on 3 social media platforms. I also use MailChimp, and I use Google Ads, Google search ads as well. How do you sort of craft this narrative and weave this story and view that journey all in one place? And the solution to this is to set up a dashboard for your metrics so that you can view things holistically and see more of that journey. I have a couple of recommendations here. A little bit later, if anybody, if we have some time, we can look at a Whatagraph in a live environment as well. All of these options will allow you to create dashboards. And when I say dashboards, similar to what you see here, where you're pulling in metrics from different platforms, metrics that you choose, so that you can see everything holistically. You can also pull in metrics that show the journey and the path to your North Star metric by using a dashboard. Now, I like to err on the side of recommending free, low-cost tools. So Google URL Builder is free. Bitly, also free. Buffer, Hootsuite are not free, but they're very useful if you like to use them. Actually, Buffer does have a free version. If you're only managing a couple of social media profiles, you would be covered under that free version. Now, metrics dashboards, to get a really good one, you're most likely going to have to pay. Now, DataBox is a free option, but Dash This and Whatagraph, they are paid versions, but I feel that spending a little bit to really keep track of your analytics and your metrics and your journey is money. Okay. Oh, it might have been a great timing. I think what I was trying to sort of wrap up with dashboards and making sure that you're able to see that data holistically, and also you're able to pull out key metrics that are highly relevant to getting towards that North Star metric. So we talk about conversions, but also you can have incremental conversions, right? Steps along the way that are going to lead up to that ending conversion, to you reaching that North Star metric. Okay. I think that's it for the first part. Did we have any questions that we should address before moving on?
I don't see any at the moment on the chat room. I know we're almost at the second half, so does anyone
Exactly.
need a minute break? If not, we'll just continue. Um, Yeah, and I also want to add on the engagement rate. That's very important for search engines too, and even like search engines like Amazon. So the better engagement you have, the higher ranking your post will be, the higher ranking your products will rank, the higher ranking your keywords will rank for your website. So now a lot of search engines, they're incorporating engagement rate. So it's not just how to rank higher. It's how your user engage with your post, your website, your products, your links. All those are very important because it shows the search engine that it's relevant to the searchers, that the engagement rate is high because they reach their destination and it's something that they are that they were looking for, right? Okay, I guess we can go ahead and continue since yeah, no one mentioned about the 5 minute break. So yeah, we can proceed. Did you need to share your screen, CC?
I can share my screen. And so I'm going to be, I'm down to one monitor. So if there are any questions or if anyone does need to stop me, I won't be able to see you all. So just verbally let me know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll monitor the chat.
Okay. Wait a second here. Here we go. All right. So here we should be seeing, and apologize if this is a little bit smaller, this is on my smaller screen, that we're seeing a live GA4 account. And John, please feel free to interject anything as well regarding GA4. Noting that for everyone on the webinar, this isn't necessarily a GA4 session or a GA4 how-to, and there's lots of things to talk about related to Google Analytics, but we'll kind of go through some of the things that you want to pay attention to. I like to kind of divide it into, if you have 5 minutes to look at your analytics, if you've got 15 minutes to look at your analytics. There's so much data in here, you could, look at it for hours. So don't be overwhelmed. So let's look at a little bit at some of these metrics that GA4 is going to show you. If you are logging in to your, I should start out by saying this. If you are logging into your GA account for the first time in some time, you will likely have a red bar up here at the top where this one has a blue bar, a blue nag here at the top, but you may have a red one that has a call to action button to set up your GA4 because your Universal Analytics account is no longer active. So you'll want to follow through those steps to do that, so you can start pulling in data to this account. So let's take a look at some of the data in here. This is the same GA4 account that I had that I pulled out in those screenshots in the slides earlier. So let's take a look at some of these metrics. So let's talk about do a little bit of more vocabulary about what these metrics mean. So users are going to be individuals. They're people that are coming to your website. New users, exactly like that. So those are new people coming into your website for the time frame that you have set. Very important with any sort of analytics, whether it is your Facebook insights or you're looking at LinkedIn analytics, whatever it is, make sure that you are looking at the right time frame, right? Down here on this particular dashboard, we can see that we can edit the length of time for the data. Sometimes, I might be looking at some data and thinking, this isn't right. And then I'm like, oh, do I have the right date range put in? And odds are if something doesn't look right, it's because I'm not looking at the right date range. So make sure to remember that. GA4 uses something called events, where it basically tracks every event or action that happens on the website. So events could be page views, page scrolls, clicks, anything of that nature, anything that's an action or an activity, and it's going to count it as an event. So when we used to, if you think about, if you're old enough to think about ye olden times when we used to talk about things like hits to a website, a page view and a session and all of these things are all going to be lumped in to events. So you want to make sure that your event traffic or that your event metrics are increasing. You want people, that shows engagement. You want people to click, you want people to scroll, you want people to view pages. I'm going to flip over here into reports. Also, another report that is going to be very important when we're talking about social media journeys from social media over to the website are your acquisition reports. And those reports are exactly what they sound like, right? It's how you acquire website visitors. How are people getting to your website? So we're just going to click on the overview here to start to give us just a baseline, right? So we can see those users again. We can see that high level view of where people are coming from. We can also see, again, events. We can also see information like what type of device they're using to access the website. So under events, we can see event name. They're pretty self-explanatory, right? So page views, right? That's somebody who views a page. A user engagement is going to be that they're clicking, they're scrolling. Session start is going to be, that's the first thing, they've started their session on the website. First visit, it's going to be their first visit to the website within that time frame, within that date range that you've chosen. Device category, it's going to give you mobile, desktop, tablet. Device category with social media. I'm not a betting woman, but I'd be willing to bet that most of your traffic that's coming into your website from social media is going to be on a mobile device. So if you're setting up a social media campaign, or if you're posting on social media on a desktop or a laptop, right, which most of us do for business purposes, right? Most of us will be sitting at our computer and saying, oh, I need to, make a Facebook post, right? Make sure that you are viewing that post on a mobile device because odds are someone is going to be accessing that content on your website or accessing your website from that mobile device. Very important step there. All right. Now, so this is sort of the 5 minute. If you've got 5 minutes to look at your analytics, the next thing that you want to look at is what people are seeing. Where are people going on your website? And that's going to be under engagement and then pages and screens. So this is going to tell you which pages are the most popular. Now, this, like I mentioned, they're a performing arts organization. They're a classical music organization. And their next event coming up is, if anybody enjoys classical music and enjoys the music of Bach, it's a concert of Bach's Goldberg variations. So this makes sense that the most popular page is going to be the page about that particular performance. They're talking about it a lot, right? On all different channels. They're driving a lot of traffic from all of their channels to that particular landing page. So that makes sense that that page overtakes even the homepage, right? Most of you, the forward slash will be your homepage. Most websites are set up to be that way. So this is the homepage. And then you can see all of the others. So this is the top 10. You can expand so that you can see more pages, but this will tell you the popularity of content. It will also help you gauge the efficacy of campaigns. You know, this Goldberg variation concert is the next one coming up. It should be the most popular or near the most popular page on the website because that's where we're driving traffic. Now, how does this fit in with social media, right? How can we actually see where they're coming from on social media? So we can actually layer on different types of data. So we can say, I want to see not only the most popular pages, but also where that traffic came from. And we can see here, this is a perfect example of saying, that Facebook campaign, effective, because that concert landing page, the most traffic to it is coming from that mobile Facebook source. And we're able to see all of that data. We can also see that the most traffic coming into the homepage is organic Google, right? So that's also very good information, right? And if we expanded this out longer, we would be able to see more pages and more sources. So this is how you can start to connect that journey from social media over to your content. You can also use it to determine which platforms or what content is not as effective. So if we are posting a lot on LinkedIn and we're in our GA and we're looking at our traffic sources and we're seeing practically nothing coming from LinkedIn, that can give us very useful information, right? Is the content not compelling? Do you have the right link over to your website? Is LinkedIn the right platform for you to be spending so much time and energy on? Should you focus that time and energy on another platform that's going to perform better? Okay, that was my sort of 5 minute rundown of, if you've only got a couple of minutes to look at your GA, what are you going to look at? I would recommend these 3 areas to give you a good view of if your campaigns are being effective. John, did you want to add anything? I'm sure that you have other insights as well.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, how can people calculate the lead per conversion rate? Because we talked about return on investment, But in order for an entrepreneur or some type of business to be able to calculate your return on investment, you need to know how much per conversion that lead is worth, right? So I can show that calculator. I have like a calculator I can kind of show.
Yeah.
And also, um, if you were a e-commerce, you can also track your e-commerce numbers on analytics too, and you can tell, where the sales are coming from which channel, how much um, sales are you generating from the social media ads that you're running. So that's something that if anyone's running any type of sales or online e-commerce, that's something important that you'll need to track as well.
Mhm.
Uh,
And having those tracking, using those URLs, having that conversion tracking set up in the individual social media channels, but also making sure that you've got conversions tracking as well within Google Analytics is going to allow you to do that.
yeah. Okay, so I can share my screen. Let's see. Do you have anything else to add, CC?
I think I'm good for the moment. I'm excited to see the calculator.
Okay. All right. So this is a online calculator. I'm just that I'm using to calculate the lead value. So basically what you want to do is you want to calculate the average revenue per job, right? So for example, if you're providing some type of service, like a monthly retainer, let's say your average client may spend $1,000, right? And then your percent of profit, let's say you have a 50% profit if you close that sale. On average, how many times a year do you provide the service to the client? So let's say it's on a monthly retainer. So let's say 12 out of 10 leads, how many become clients? Let's say you have a 30% closing rate, which is pretty good. So every 10 leads, you close like, well, we could do, let's just say two. So every 10 leads, you close like two clients, right? So then you can tell that your revenue per lead would be $200. Your annual revenue would be $2,400. And then your profit per lead is $65. Annual profit per lead is $11.65. And your annual revenue per client is 12,000. Annual profit per client is 6,000. So does anyone have any questions, or do you understand how the numbers work? So if I was to spend, let's say I'm spending on advertising like $500 a month, right, on my marketing campaign towards Facebook ads. Um, would that be profitable for you guys to tell me? Am I profitable if I'm spending $500 a month? Any questions on the chat? Trying to see if I get any answers. But basically, you can do, like if I was to look at a calculator, you can also calculate like if I was spending $500 a month, right? Um, and I'm looking at the annual revenue per client, that's how you can tell if you're making profit too, right? Um, so if I'm spending like 6,000 a year on my leads and I'm closing, at least two leads per 10 leads, right? That comes through. Um, you can tell that you're profitable at that point, right? And you can invest more because you're profitable for that. When you look at that annual revenue per client, um, the client per client's worth 12,000, right? So if I'm only spending 500 a month, that shows that I'm, profitable for that amount. And you can also increase your advertising budget too, because if you continue to be consistent with that closure rate, that's pretty good. If you want to just say, let's say you generate 10 leads and you're only running, you're closing one lead out of 10 leads, right? Your lead value would be $100 per lead. That's the value. And if you're generating 10 leads per campaign, you're looking at your revenue is going to be worth like $1,000 because you're generating 10 leads, right? But you're only closing one, which is $100 per 10 leads. So you can kind of do the calculation depending on how much you're spending. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions? But I think this is important to know because if you're trying to capture leads for your business, it's important to know that so that when you look at analytics, you can do those calculations, right? So I'm just showing analytics again. This is my website. And I'm not running any conversions because I'm running more of engagement for people to see the ads. The only conversion that I'm doing right now is through the form sign up, right? So I don't have that set up because I know that the ads that I'm running for Facebook is going through like a lead capture form. So let's say, the advertising I was running for social media, we ended up having over 50 signups within a month of advertising that I run on Facebook. So that tells me that, I can calculate my conversion rate from there as well. Even though you don't have Google will calculate that conversion rate if you have that set up properly. But if you don't, you can also calculate that conversion rate and you can just do conversion rate calculator, right? And you can use like calculators that they have online to generate your conversion rate as well. And you can look at your traffic. So let's say if I was doing like paid social, right? Um, I'll just randomly pick a category, United States. Let's say I got So when you're doing conversion, you want to kind of look at your analytics too. So let's say if you don't have it set up here, right? And you want to calculate conversion rate. So let's say on my organic social, I had let's say 34 visitors, right? Or 34 clicks. Let's say I had 34 clicks and then I had 50 signups. But this would be probably like a super high conversion rate. And the conversion rate's like 147. But this isn't totally accurate because some people probably came to my website through direct as well. Like as you can see, I have a lot of direct traffic as well. Direct means that people who just typing in my website URL without clicking through the socials channels. But to be more realistic, if I look at a conversion rate again, let's just say I had 34 clicks to the website and I had 5 signups on my lead form, right? So my conversion rate would be 14%. So it's important for you to know your conversion rate. You want a conversion rate that's higher than 5%. That would be good. This website also tells that the conversion rate for your paid social ads that is equal or higher than the current average of 3.84%, right? So 3.84% is kind of like the average, national average. So if you can be higher than that, then you're in good hands. So it's important to know the conversion rate, even though you're looking at like the click-through rate, engagement rate. But if you're someone who's running leads, who's running sales, then you need to know what the conversion rate is. Because if you have a low conversion rate, then it can tell you a lot of things. It could tell you that maybe it's not relevant, maybe you're running the wrong ads or targeting the wrong audience. So there can be a number of things. So that's why it's important to understand the engagement rate, the click-through rate, the number of impressions too, right? That matters too. Because if you have a high impression and you're getting low click-through rate, then that shows you that your advertising, your content is not relevant to. So there's a lot of work that you need to do. Analytics, that's like a whole new world where there's people who are dedicated just to work on the analytics. And I wanted to show the Facebook platform. I know we spoke about Facebook Insight. So this is my account that I've been running some ads on the social media cohort that we're doing, also a couple other ads. So based on the overview here, this is based on the last 28 days. Again, you want to understand the numbers here. And before I go here, does anyone have any questions in terms of conversion rate or the conversion lead per acquisition?
I can
What's the difference between conversion rate and engagement?
Yeah, so the conversion rate is based on you're calculating so engagement is more like clicks, right? So you think of engagement
Mhm.
as, someone who clicked on your ads. So if I had 34 people that clicked on my ads and 5 people fill out my ads, right? Then I can calculate my conversion rate, which is 14%. So does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, so the only difference is really
Alright,
the
thanks.
conversion rate is just the percent. So you're taking the number of clicks. I believe you're dividing it by the conversion to get the conversion rate. And CC, did you have something to add?
Oh yeah, I just pulled up an account that has some conversions in it in GA if we wanted to show that so that we could look at
Yeah,
source of the conversion, sort of exactly what you were just talking about. Um,
yeah, I can let you share your screen here because we still got time. We have like
yeah,
40,
yeah.
30 minutes left.
So let's take a look at this one here. So this is a SaaS platform for creating marketing strategies and growth strategies called Frictionless. There is a free version if you're interested in signing up and using it. It's frictionlesshq.com. Anyway, so this one does have some conversions that are listed here. And we can see by looking at where the traffic is coming from, we can see what those channels are. And this is the higher level grouping here. But we can clearly see where the conversions are coming from. And in this case, a conversion is somebody signing up for the software. So they're submitting a sign up form, they're giving their information, they're signing up to use the software. That's the identified conversion action. That's also the North Star metric for this particular platform. So we can see here that organic search is successful. So this is in the last 28 days here. Direct is the most from any one channel, direct traffic. Then we've got referrals. Then we've got this unassigned bucket here that always pops up. But this is how you can see exactly where those conversions are. Now, you can also, for what John was talking about, when you're actually calculating ROI, you can, when you create a conversion, you can assign a dollar amount to it if you want. There's no dollar amount assigned to these because the vast majority of these users coming in are free users, but we could assign a value to them. So if you are an e-com person, right, there's definitely going to be a conversion value, right? There's going to be how much product are they buying. If it's something like a service, you could assign a value if you wanted. This conversion is worth, $100 or $50 to help you calculate that ROI that John is talking about.
Yeah. Any questions? Thanks, CC. So I'll go back to my page here. Does everyone know how to sign up for Google Analytics? Okay, so
Nope,
what?
I may
No.
need use that help.
Okay, so the website for Google Analytics, it's really just you want to just go to, it's a free account. If you have a Gmail, you can sign up. It's just analytics.google.com is where you want to go. And again, what CC mentioned, you'll get this red box that says that you need to switch over to G4. This is like an old account that I'm not using anymore. And we'll get all the links that we talked about and we'll put it into the PowerPoint slide so that you can download it and reference to the links that we talked about too. So I'll include all the calculators and the links to sign up for analytics as well. So if you have a website, you want to make sure you're tracking traffic because sooner or later you'll need to learn about the data and understand the data when you're starting to run your company and you're looking to run some ads on, whether it's on Google or on social media. You want to be able to track your conversion, your return on investment, right? And a lot of times, I have clients who like to try Google and Bing advertisement, and also like on the social media side too, right? So if you're spending like $100, like $500 on Google ads and $500 on Facebook ads, you want to be able to track that RIO between the two different channels. And if you're getting more conversions through Google search, then I would focus more of your budget towards that, because you're getting higher conversion. So, and this can be different depending on what type of business model you have. So that's why it's important when you're tracking for return on investment. These are, for example, these are all the different channels, right? You have your organic search, which is the search engine on Google. You have your organic social, which can be any type of social platforms like Facebook, Instagram. Then you have your referrals. It could be through email. If you do email marketing, you'll probably see this on email marketing too. Direct is, again, it's just people who types in your direct URL. So these are the different channels that you want to be able to track when it comes to return on investment. And then you can even track it down to the website. Sorry, if you're running ads on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you can also track by those website as well. And that will be through the source. Let's see, engagement, overview, conversions.
Yeah, I usually just switch that metric to source medium. This is one of the wonky things about GA4, everyone. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah. So engagement, yeah, because this is engagement. And you mentioned you go through, let's see.
Where it says session default channel group.
Okay, yeah.
Be able to just, and then do source medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's not much of a difference. You have organic videos here as well. But so for you all who don't understand, source medium, again, it's like the different website, different source that you go through, and the channels can be like a overall broader view of that source.
Yeah, if you hit the little plus right beside that, then you can layer on, go to traffic source.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not shown too much. Medium source. I'm trying to see if I can show like the Facebook and the different channels here.
Yeah,
Different sources.
it should be under
Campaign session.
click there.
Medium. It's giving me, I think it's not working because it's giving me internal error. I'm not sure why, but maybe because
it
slow.
may be also, so sometimes GA4 is a little bit wonky.
Yeah, I think I just need to refresh, but okay, here we go. So I just had to refresh. So now this is based on a source level view. You can see Google Organic, Upwork, Facebook, mobile Facebook. Then you got other sites that are bringing traffic to the website as well. So you could look at it at the source level or at the channel level. Channel is more broader view, but if you want to look at, if you're running, like I said, you're running ads on Google and Facebook, then you want to look at the source level and just kind of see which source is giving you better results. And if you have any questions on how to set this up again, you can reach out to us. There's also a lot of tutorials on YouTube. Google has like a lot of instructions online as well. Basically, you need to just copy a code and place that code on your WordPress website. And also you may want to look into Google Tag Manager as well. So I'm just showing the back end of a WordPress, right? And if I was to install that code, you can, if you know how to read codes, you can go right to the page, the footer or the header and add the codes in. If you don't, you can also add new plugins. There's plugins that will integrate with Google Analytics. You just type in Google Analytics. Oops. Google Analytics. And then you can install like any of these plugins, and these plugins will, they're pretty easy. All you have to do is paste a small code to it, and it will apply the code to throughout the website for you. And I mentioned Google Tag Manager. That's another tool that Google provides. It allows you to do more tracking on different types of platform as well. So that we won't go into it, but definitely look into that if you're looking to run some advertising.
And I'll just say one note, because I know, again, there's a diverse group on the webinar. If this doesn't, if you don't know where to start, or this, if you're getting overwhelmed on what needs to be installed or how to do it, please seek out an expert like John to help you and guide you to getting, knowing what you need, getting all these things installed. Installing Google Analytics, the tracking pixels that we talked about earlier for Facebook and LinkedIn, also Tag Manager. The bulk of the work is just a one-time thing. So you'll need someone to, do the base install. And that base code can sort of live there in perpetuity. So it's not necessarily an ongoing engagement.
Right. Yeah, so it's a one-time setup, like CC mentioned. So yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions. When you're ready to engage and get to this point, reach out to us and we can help you out. We'll go back to the Facebook Insight. Again, this is just an overview of all the ads that I've been running. So again, reach, if you don't know what that means, you can just hover over the little icon here, the little eye. It'll tell you what the reach means, right? So reach means the metric counts reach from organic or paid distribution of your Facebook content, including posts, stories, and ads. So the number of reach is the number of people that you reach through your posts or your ads, right? Content interaction, the number of likes, reactions, saves, comments, shares, and replies on your content, including ads. So just know the difference. Reach is the number of people that will see your ads or see your posts. Content interaction is the number of time people actually like or click or save, right? And then followers, again, the number of followers that like your page or follow your page. And link click, it means exactly what it means. What it says, the number of clicks, taps, or swipe on links within your content, including ads. So if I posted like a Facebook post and I have a link to my website and they click on that link, then that will be considered Facebook link click. That will go towards I'm sorry, like any type of post, stories, or reels, or links and videos, that would be considered a link click. And then you can go ahead, CC.
And you can look at these similar to that example that we gave for LinkedIn in looking at the click-through rate versus the volume of clicks, and how, the click-through rate is being higher than the others is a sign of an effective campaign, even though the volume may have been slightly less. And that same thing applies here, and also moving through into your Google Analytics. So looking at, okay, how much reach, how many interactions, how many clicks do I have on Facebook? And then tracking that over to, once they get to the website, how many of those people actually end up converting? How many of those people end up booking a call or signing up for software, like in that example I gave, or whatever you're, or buying a product, whatever the conversion is. So it's looking at both sides of the metrics to get the sense of how that journey works and how effective those social campaigns are.
Yeah. Thanks, CC. And then ways to grow your reach. This is just data that's telling you based on 28 days, right? The organic had 1535 and ads had 16,854 reach on Facebook. So this is just telling you that, you know, the advertising is generating a lot higher reach based on the ads. Post frequently to improve content engagement. So when I post about 6 per Facebook, you know, you're seeing a 200% increase. And then messaging is just you know, people who message you, right? So people who message you on your Facebook Messenger. So if you have a page that has a messenger box, they can message you as well. Response rate would just be the percent of messages that I respond. So a lot of these could be just spam too. So if it's spam, I don't respond to it. So let's move on to results. As you can see, this is just a overview again of the Facebook reach, Facebook visits, number of times a page or profile was visited, number of followers or likes to your page, paid reach, paid impression. Again, paid reach is different from paid impressions too. So this is when people actually see the ads, which may include multiple times when your ads actually reach them at least once, right? And then paid impression is a number of times your ads were on the screen. So this number is a lot higher than paid reach, only because, you know, the ads can be, you can have impression, but that may not reach that person, right? It may not be seen. And sometimes they may be seen, but that person may not click on the ad as well. And this is just based on the past month. The amount spent was only $200.35. The audience. So current audience, you could look at, this is based on the follows on the page. You can look at the age, the gender. You can tell that, you know, majority is coming from the middle age, 35 to 54 group, or and this is important because when you're setting up your audience, you can look at these number and be able to tell that, set up your different audience when you're building out your campaign as well. You can tell the cities, the countries from your audience. You can look at potential audience here as well. Top cities, genders, top pages. So messaging, we'll skip this because this is, again, this is only if they message you directly. We'll skip benchmark as well. So this is more of the content overview where you can look at each post that you do, how that engagement, that reach is all, how the numbers are happening. And this is good to know too, because you can tell which post has the highest reach, highest reaction, and highest comment. And you'll see that post here on the bottom here as well. And if you want to go even into more details, you can look at the content where it'll list all the posts that you listed in the past. And you can also look at the reach, the likes based on this these posts. Also, you can look at the number of comments, shares. And most of these, you know, as you can see, this one had 8,000 reach. That's because I was running ads on it. And then same thing with this one which had 7,000 views. This one also had ads. You can click on it. You can look at it. It'll tell you a little bit more information about the paid results. So I spent 40 bucks. I had 119 clicks, 4 shares, 16 reaction, shows me the gender as well. The total reach was over 7,000. So this is kind of like a basic view of Facebook Insight. So just kind of understand how it works. Again, if you want to try conversion, make sure you have the pixel placed on your ad. If you don't know how to place the pixel, you can just kind of Google how to place pixels. And it's basically you're just copying that code into your WordPress website. If you don't know how to do that, you can also just do Facebook. I believe they have a plugin for that too. Yeah, so Meta Pixel for WordPress, Pixel your site, Smart Pixel Tag Manager. So you can install any of these plugins, and basically you just copy that code that Facebook gives you into these plugins, and it will do the job if you're not familiar with coding. And once you, like, for example, I can even install it now. So let's say I want to install this one. So this one will also allow you to add Google Analytics and other scripts to it. So if I activate that, you can pretty much copy codes to your tracking codes to these plugins, and then they'll start tracking your conversions for you. So this one also has videos to show you how to set up your meta conversion, Google Analytics. Okay. So back to Facebook. Any questions so far? And same thing for Instagram. Their analytics is very similar. So if you're looking at the analytics on your phone, it's very similar to Facebook as well. So this is content. You can also look at your videos that you post. So I don't have too much information on the video for this channel here. And then if you do use any paid tools, like for example, I use SEMrush. They have a social media analytics as well, where you can add multiple profiles to it. You can look at on a high overview of the different profiles, the different pages that you have, how many followers you have, post reach engagement within the last 28 days. As you can see, it looks like the AABRN, Asian American Business Resiliency Network, because I've been posting a lot of different, I've been running ads on this Facebook page here. And also my agency here. So I've been running some ads here too, posting on here too. So if you want like a more overview of the different analytics to show post engagement rate, and reach, you can get all that under like certain platforms will have it too. If you have social media platforms, you can also look at, like, for example, Facebook. You can get a little bit more data in terms of when they are online, when is the most engagement, the age group, medium, the different genders. Top activity time is about from 5 to 9 o'clock at night, 5 p.m. to 9. So that tells me that, that's when I should advertise most of my ads, because I'm getting higher engagement. And that makes sense because, people are probably working during the day. They're more active, after. You can look at it by audience, page likes. You could choose different pages as well. So I'm just looking at digital synergy right now. Engagement. It tells me the different paid, organic. So if you want to just look at paid, you can just click on paid. So paid is, again, I'm running ads, right? And you can kind of look at it here too, that the number of paid visitors versus organic. This is just impressions. And reach per day. Engagement by days. You can look at reactions. And then let's go to posts. You can look at your posts. They'll tell you the average engagement rate as well for each post. Post type, links, photo, videos. Most of it is photos and links. So a lot of the data here is very similar to Facebook. It's just on a different platform, and it kind of consolidates all the information into something that's more informational. But it's basically, you can get a lot of this information on the Facebook Insight as well. I feel like this allows me to look at a little bit more information. I don't have Instagram and LinkedIn set up yet, but just the Facebook here. Okay, it looks like we have 15 minutes left. I know CC's sending some useful links here. Thank you, CC. Any questions so far?
We've got
Again,
plenty of time for questions. Odds are, if you have a question, odds are somebody else has the same question, so don't be shy to ask. And if you don't want to ask it verbally, please feel free to just type it in the chat.
Yeah. And we're just using Google Analytics. I know there's a lot of different traffic analytics out there too, but Google is free, and it's a good platform. Yeah. So paid reach. Yeah. So impression is the number of times your ad was shown. The pay for paid impression, and reach is when someone actually sees the ad. So if you go to overview and you're not sure what that is, you can look at the highlight, the metric. It says metric counts for organic or paid distribution of ad Facebook content, including posts, stories, ads, which includes reach from other sources just as such as tags, check-ins, page. This number also includes reach from posts, stories that were boosted. So reach is only counted once if it occurs from both organic and paid distribution. You can read more on that. CC, do you have anything to add in terms of the difference between paid and paid reach?
Yeah. So when anything is labeled as paid, right? So that means that metric, that activity is coming from a paid campaign. So a Facebook ads campaign or an Instagram advertising campaign, you're probably going to see impressions be higher than reach, because impressions are the time, or the each time the ad or the content is sort of loading, if you want to think about it like that, in a person's feed. And most people will see an ad or a piece of content more than once before engaging with it, right? So reach is analogous to people, sort of like a user in Google Analytics. Reach is analogous to people, and impressions are analogous to the actual content being shown. So usually you'll see impressions be sort of the higher number, and then reach will be a little bit lower, and then you'll have engagements like clicks or follow or shares of that piece of content that's going to be even lower than that, because that's how many times people are actually taking an action on that content. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question? If the answer is no, that's perfectly fine, but I hope that made sense.
Yeah. So,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, I just want to ask, so what can cause low impression?
Well, I'd say, I mean, impression, just the number of times your ad was displayed. So it really depends on your budget, advertising budget, right? I think
Your
what you
target.
meant was, yeah, I think what you meant was maybe what can cause a low reach or low click-through rate, right? And if you get that, then it means that whatever you're advertising is not relevant for your audience, and you need to evaluate your campaign. So that will give you some insight in terms of if you're targeting the proper audience. So if you have a high impression and you have a high reach and high click-through or interaction engagement, that means that what you're advertising is relevant. Um, and just to clarify, reach is a total number of people who see your content, and impression is a number of times your content was displayed, right? So your content can be displayed a lot of times, where the person can see that content multiple times, but may only be considered as one time. So that will count as a reach. This is just Facebook. If you're talking about Google ads, then they will consider click and impression, right? The number impression is the number of time the ad was shown on Google search engines, and then how many clicks you had, right? So it's a little bit different because the way Facebook has it, but Google Ads will be a little different. So if I did like marketing services, um, like this is an ad here, right? So if I see this ad here once, that's considered an impression. If I click on it, it's going to be a click-through rate, but which I won't, because I know it's going to cost them money. So that's how you know, that's how you kind of understand on more like a live view.
Yeah, so I mean, that's all clear. The reason why I ask what can influence a low impression is because I'm more familiar with YouTube. And then sometimes I'll go on our videos and I'll see low impression. Yeah, so I don't know if there's something we should be doing on our path to influence the impression. I'm not talking about the click-through rate, I'm talking about the impression.
So are you doing paid, or are you just looking at the number of views of your video?
So normally when people watch the video, YouTube will now give you the data. So impression is one of the different kinds of data YouTube shows you. So sometimes I'll see usually either an upper arrow or a
Gotcha.
down arrow. So
Gotcha. So for YouTube, and I'll let John also add his thoughts as well, but um for YouTube, just like anything else, um those, impressions are coming from when your video is shown based on someone's search or someone's preferences, right? When you're watching a YouTube video, and along the right hand, if you're on a desktop, along the right hand side are sort of related videos, or, things that you might like. So it's a little bit, it's related to those in a much more direct way than what we're talking about here with Facebook and paid, if that makes sense. Not knowing
yes, that
exactly
does.
what the video is about, like, it's hard to give specific advice, but
No, I think it helps. I think what you said answers the question. Thank you.
okay, yeah. For social media campaigns, if you're seeing low numbers, exactly what John said, that speaks to the relevance of your content. But also there's that relationship between content and targeting. So there is no such thing as sort of the general public, or just a general targeting or general content, right? Even if we have small budgets, we can still segment, because what's the secret sauce to getting people to engage with content is for it to be relevant to them. So if you're running a paid campaign, make sure that you're not putting, very general targeting with some, very general content. Make it as specific as you can that's reasonable, right? If I am, let's say I have bought shoes on Zappos.com before. Zappos follows me, they find me, they serve me some Facebook ads. If the Facebook ads that they are showing me are for children's shoes, and I don't have any children, and I've never bought children's shoes from Zappos, I'm probably not going to engage in that ad, right? Because it's not relevant to me. So making sure that the content matches the targeting. Now, if Zappos was targeting on Facebook, and you can do this targeting, parents of children between the ages of 6 and 10, right? And Zappos decided to put that ad out about children's shoes, that would be a really great match of targeting to content. And the engagement rate, the interaction rate would probably be pretty high.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, I'm happy to report my power came back on.
All right.
I'm back in business.
We have like 5 minutes left, so if there's no further questions, we can wrap things up. Next week, we'll have social media management, which we'll have Ellie come and teach that again, and she'll show you different tools and how to manage your social media, how to schedule your posts, vice versa. So that's going to be a good webinar as well. And then I believe paid social and advertising will have you back, right, CC, for that.
Yep.
And we'll show you guys how to set up ads, and it all kind of connects to analytics too. So setting up ads, setting up conversions and all that. And it's everything that we talked about today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself and CC. We'll put this recording on a website on the presentation as well, so you can get all the information that we mentioned today on there too. And that concludes our social media cohort for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us when you're ready to set up your campaign or your analytics. Reach out to us and we can help you out. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks, CC. Thanks, Jang.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
So before you go, what's the preferred contact for you? Is it email, calls? What works for you?
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah, either way works. But usually
right.
email, I would check more.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks. Later.